Hey, it's Todd Ault. This is a special edition of Risk On. I think it's the 141st episode, but Skyla's not here right now, so the second she gets back, I'll know. What's today's date, actually?
Today is 4th.
October 4th. You got to mark this day as a hugely important day, okay? So I'm going to tell you a little bit of backstory. I grew up in Huntington Beach, California, went to Edison High School. The guy I'm going to introduce you to, he went to Edison High School, and he was a megastar in the 70s and 80s. 90s. He's still on TV today. You see him all the time. What's up? Are we okay?
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Okay, 1 second. I'm live on the air here. Hey, the guy I'm going to introduce you today, has been in my life for a long time, was a mega TV star. You probably knew him from 8 is Enough and Charles in Charge. You knew him from Gunsmoke, a lot of the Westerns when he was younger. I think he was Tony Randall's son on one of the shows. He was in Zapped with Scott Baio. And a long time ago, I actually asked him, I've known him since I was 18. I knew of him, of course, longer than that because he went to the same high school as me, but he graduated before I did. And of course, he was a mega superstar, so why would he talk to me, right? Just kidding. So I met him when I was 18 years old, and I asked him later on in life to help be part of Alzheimer's Neuro because he's had family issues with Alzheimer's, and he was an important part of helping me produce content. He is a great director, producer, really talented when it comes to understanding filming. He set up this amazing studio. He still shows up on things like Hallmark today, and in certain shows, you'll see him in upcoming shows with pretty famous people. I mean, he's really been around a long time in the industry. He was like the Justin Bieber of our age, but in the 70s and 80s. I actually think he was considered one of the sexiest men alive. But he's a friend. He's a personal colleague. He's the CEO of Ault Media Group. He's been in the background for a long time, but he's decided to come out and be part of the team, not just a producer, but a talent on air. Today, everyone, Willie Ames.
Hey, man.
Willy.
What a build-up.
Oh,
Holy crap, what a build-up. That's like way too much.
It is cool.
But thank you.
I want to say, everybody, this is mind-blowing because Willie told me he would never do my show.
No, that's not true. That's not true. I never wanted to do the show just because you ran out of guests.
Oh.
I mean, what I wanted to do was I wanted to do the show because I had a reason to be on the show. Mm-hmm. And now I have a reason to be on the show. There's a real reason for this, with a lot more coming in the future.
Yeah, those of you who are investors in DPW Ault Global, there is a business in there called Ault Media Group, and Willie is actually the CEO of Ault Media Group.
Yep, correct. Correct.
You do all kinds of video production, shows all over the place. You're doing something out of England with a very famous doctor.
Yep.
He's actually social media famous, but he's a very talented doctor. You're doing a lot of stuff for us behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I have to say I like it that way. I mean, you've given me this incredible, if you think about it, when he met me, he was like, oh my gosh, you're Willie Ames. Now I'm the one that's going, hey, can I have a job, please? Can I have,
That is not true. Don't listen to him. He's a liar. He's still a radio, and he's still a TV producer. He's still a writer. He's still on shows like Hallmark. And I know my audience loves Hallmark, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I've got on my best Risk-On skirt. I mean, it's, just like Hallmark.
Hey, I got to step out for a second, but Jason is going to give us a market update. I'll be right back, guys.
Willie, you want to go through the market numbers? They were pretty disappointing.
It was
today.
pretty abysmal today. It's funny. I mean, what people may not know too is sort of like Todd was oh God, now I feel old. Right? Yeah.
Are people able to
get in line? If I'm reading the chat already, get in line for feeling old. What people may not know is that, in 2000, well, I mean, a lot of people know that I went absolutely belly up in 2006, 2007, 2008.
Right.
So it'd be almost 14 years ago that I was actually homeless and sleeping in the bushes at the Hollywood Bowl and stuff. And one of the things that brought me out of it was the financial markets.
Yeah.
I got my 13 to sell health and life insurance, and then I passed my Series 7.
Nice.
And I learned a lot when I took the test for the Series 7 and did all of that studying to become a financial advisor. And a lot of it was how the markets can really just be brutal.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just brutal. And so when I look at the things that are happening today and the discussion that you and I were having just prior to the show
Yeah.
about insider trading and the political aspect, and I can't help but think that today's numbers sort of reflect some of that.
I mean, eventually, you would think that the markets. I mean, they're pretty as far as normal people go. The markets are not forgiving, but like we talked about on Capitol Hill, people that are privy to inside information and they're able to make trades before the quote unquote normal people or the peasants, if you will, get their finger on the pulse of the markets. They're able to prosper. And we were talking about how the political parties, both sides, independents included, would never vote to have term limits. That would be a vote against themselves.
It'd certainly be a vote against their own wealth legacy.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think there's only been a few people that would actually consider voting for term limits. Ron Paul obviously was one of them, and his son Rand Paul, who is actually a doctor of ophthalmology, I believe. So there's not a whole lot of people that...
It's always the side that's not in the Oval Office that wants the term limits.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and I've seen it bounce back and forth for years and years and years. And it goes way, way back. I mean,
Yeah, but as far as the markets go, if you get a little too greedy, on either side, a short side or the long side, and you just you don't take profits, I think was it Kramer? He said bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered.
Yeah,
or
hogs eat, pigs get slaughtered.
Yeah.
I've heard that one. Yeah.
So when the market will let you know if you've extended too far, one way or the other. Like I said, it's just not very forgiving. And we've learned some powerful lessons here. Currently there's a couple positions that we have that I just can't make any sense of. For example, the precious metal side of the market right now, it just seems like all the history and the indications and everything that goes on analytically and what's occurring right now with the Federal Reserve, what's going on with monetary policy, inflation, all of these indicators should point to precious metals making a move upward. The trajectory should be upward. In fact, it's not. In fact, gold did move slightly up today, but silver, gold, and some platinum, they've all been destroyed. And I'm just not seeing how this is possible. And you look at Bitcoin, however, and actually it's 49,300. So we're seeing Bitcoin as a young storage of wealth, if you will, new to the scene, maybe 8-9 years old. And you're seeing a paradigm shift to the younger generation turning to the ease of access for digital gold. I like to call Bitcoin digital gold because they're able to get it.
And I think the lack of political manipulation, right?
That's another topic.
I mean, I think you see the younger set moving to it because they're the first generation. I mean, you're looking at people that are the first generation that will never have known life without the internet.
Yeah.
So their frame of reference is completely different from somebody like myself, who's older than dirt at this point. So I think what you're seeing is this acceptance across the board, and with the younger generation coming in of saying, hey, why do we have to? Which is great because that's what youth has always been about.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why do we have to do it this way? Why can't we do it that way?
And a lot of the people, younger generations, the housing market is based on current costs. Some of the younger generation might not be able to afford as a first-time home buyer right now, so they're turning to other vehicles to invest in.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
because real estate's always been the backbone of investment. And right now, though, if you look at the average home cost in the United States, over $350,000. Even though the interest rates are very low, and we talked about they could go lower. Yes,
into the negative. They're going to go into the negative.
Willie and I talked about the possibility of negative interest
There'll be
rates.
negative
And
returns.
Todd will give his
For sure.
I think something to cover is I've been trying to use WhatsApp all day.
Mm-hmm.
Major outage at Facebook.
Oh,
WhatsApp
yeah.
is down all day.
Instagram,
Instagram,
Facebook.
Facebook.
WhatsApp,
Well, there was a major
all the
whistle-
platforms.
major whistleblower today.
I thought the whistleblower thing was completely stupid. I saw it. I still thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
But more importantly than that, I don't think that she should have been allowed to steal documents that belong to Facebook. I don't think that she's not whistleblowing about something that's like saving the union. I just think it's nonsense that that I would have voted one way or the other. I think you're going to lean one way or the other. Whatever. Doesn't
Yeah.
really. Anyway, so big outages at Facebook across the board. Warren, Senator Warren. God, by the way, so we're clear on Senator Warren. Okay, this reminds me of the former governor of New York, not the guy you're thinking. Long ago, Wall Street cowboy sheriff that was indicting all those mutual fund traders who were trading ahead of Elliot Spitzer.
Oh, Spitzer.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Elliot Spitzer
He was
did
the
a
AG.
lot of complaining about people, and he was the cowboy of Wall Street, the sheriff. I'm going to get you. And Senator Warren, she is now saying she wants the SEC to open an SEC open insider trading against a vice chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Look who's calling the kettle black.
I just think to myself, I hope Senator Warren doesn't have anything that could pop up for her later on.
What could that be?
Careful throwing stones there.
that's a dangerous
I guess when you're a former Indian chief or part of a tribe, you can take some peyote and you can see the future maybe or something. I don't know what the deal is with her. I just think she's a bit of a hypocrite there.
Pocahontas had. You probably have more Native American blood than Pocahontas.
Well,
you
never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
So yeah, that's her name, Pocahontas. Anyway, whatever. She's from Massachusetts. I'm not a fan. If you're a fan of her, though, please comment in the chat of what you like about her.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually.
If you're a fan of Warren, please show me. Hey, good to be king. I know your political affiliation. If you have anything bullish about Warren, please post it in the chat. I'd like to hear it.
Come on, man.
Good to be king. Yeah, you owe me, don't you?
He owes you. Yes, he does.
He does.
But
yeah,
you
he
know
owes
what?
me. He's a good guy.
He is. He is.
He's a good guy. We had a really good chat a few months back.
Yeah, I actually
And-
had dinner with him, too. He was
Yeah, yeah, and it worked out really good. He owed me a couple of emails. He didn't send it. Remember that? Remember that? I do.
Actually, I think he posted
Because I definitely sent you a couple of emails going, "Where's my email?"
Oh, he said not a fan. All right, King.
All right.
Common ground, baby.
Not
There
a
you
fan
go.
of Warren.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
But
there
you know
go.
what? You know what? Jason, you and I have had this conversation before, and I know that Todd and I have had it as well. It's and I was saying earlier, I tend to socially, I tend to lean left.
Yeah.
Fiscally, I tend to lean, right.
Right, sure.
And I think that I really feel like all of the polarization and everything that we have going today is really more overblown hype than it is reality, because you and I have great conversations.
Yep.
We'd sit at dinner and talk all night long.
Yep.
Same thing with Todd, and then I have friends, that are the same way, and it's a lot like, when I worked on the cruise ships for a while, and remember when Greece was in all of that turmoil, and you'd look on the news and there were riots in the streets
Yeah.
and everything was on fire.
I do.
That was one block. The rest of the country was fine.
Yep.
And people were canceling cruises and they weren't going on.
Yep.
And it really was a great example of how the media can sort of shift your perspective into an area that isn't. There's some reality there, but it's not really, the whole. It's not the big picture.
It's a snapshot.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And they use that because, the media works on clicks. They're not going to get any kind of viewership if they're talking about how, anything that's like boring or anything that's like middle of the road. They need the extreme sides of everything.
Without question. Just look at if you look at the news and then you look at Hallmark. Hallmark owns the market for women 35 to 65, hands down across the board. And I wrote a script for them at one point, and I've written a lot of scripts, and I wrote this one specifically for Hallmark, and the notes came back. This is complete vanilla, absolutely nothing controversial, would not raise any eyebrows,
Yeah.
does not force people to think, quote, it's perfect for Hallmark. and as a writer,
That's great.
I'm dying inside. I'm like, oh, this is horrible. But they understand too that their marketplace and their niche is to be that.
Yep.
Their marketplace is to not be something that challenges you. It's something that's supposed to make you feel good. And in fact, I was talking to Ellen Travolta, who is Johnny's sister and was on Charles in Charge with us.
Yes.
And God love her, she had been through some really, really tough times, and she said, "Thank God for Hallmark, because it's someplace where I can go that's safe."
Yep.
Yeah,
So
for
it
sure.
all has, you
a
know
lot
what I
of
mean?
a lot of my friends that are very religious only watch Hallmark, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think I get what I'm trying to get at is I guess it all has its space. You know, it all has its market, and it all has its audience. And you know, I mean, look at Risk On. I mean, it's got its audience, and you know, and some people are going to like it, or some
Willie,
people
where do we go to get the news, though? Now, listen, where's Walter Cronkite of today? You know what
That's
I mean?
really, really.
Where's the journalists?
It's a really good question.
You know, I'm from upstate New York, Syracuse area. They got
Yeah.
a great journalism school, but nobody's coming out of there.
Hey,
Well,
can you go to
yeah.
my screen real quick? When I was a kid, I'm not joking around, one of my favorite places to go to in California was Marineland.
Oh my
Let's go.
God!
Come on, let's go.
And so is Marineland. They have exciting new shows, including the spectacular Hideout.
That's great.
Porky is the world's biggest
Wow.
I love
Marineland
Corky,
now
dude.
has one of the largest and most fascinating.
I love
wow,
Corky.
Orky and
Marineland has
Corky.
created the Baja Reef, where you swim with exotic fish past coral and plants. If you haven't been to Marineland lately, come down and share it with us. Marineland's the one. Share the ocean, share the fun.
Wow, that is a blast from the now. So
Hey, now you should know that Marineland sat on some of the most expensive land in the world.
but-
I mean, like sick expensive land, like right in Palos Verdes.
Palos Verdes
That's
Peninsula.
awesome.
And it
Yeah.
was so expensive. It was like, and it literally has houses on it now worth like $50 million homes.
Incredible views, and you can see Catalina Island right there.
Sure.
It's funny because, you know, in my career, you know, I've been at it 51 years
Yeah,
now
long
or something
time
in the
now.
industry, and I never wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Really, that makes
And
sense.
so, as a
Good-looking
kid,
and a
when I
marine
got the
biologist.
opportunity to be the kid spokesperson for Marineland of the Pacific,
Yeah.
I was thrilled. Then later on, I did a series called Swiss Family Robinson that was Martin Milner and Helen Hunt and myself and all kinds of other people. But we also worked for Irwin Allen and Fox, 20th Century Fox. Irwin Allen was they called him the master of disaster. He did the Poseidon Adventure, Towering Inferno,
Yep.
Earthquake, all of these big disasters. He created the summer blockbuster disaster movie, right?
Yep.
He created that. Well, he bought Marineland of the Pacific as a property for 20th Century Fox, and they ran it for quite a while.
How-
And that's where I got to go in and start working with the killer whales and the dolphins and ride them and work with the marine biologists. And then later on, we started the family swim over there. And I just had lunch with a guy named that you'll probably remember.
I know.
Gregory Harrison.
Sure.
Who was on Trapper John
Trapper John MD, one
Oh,
of my favorite shows.
I know that.
He was up in Canada. So I live in Canada now. I married a Canadian and moved to Canada.
In the
And,
Canada.
Eh?
Canada.
Canadian,
Eh?
eh? And
boots.
and Greg was up, and we had lunch, and he grew up on Catalina Island.
Oh.
And so I said, well, what was it like to grow up on Catalina Island? I spent, you know, most of my life diving that island and going over there on the boat. He said, I used to sit on that island on the point, and I would stare across, and I could literally see Palos Verdes Peninsula and the traffic headed to Marineland. And I thought, if only I could get to that peninsula. And I said, at the exact same moment you were doing that, I was standing on that peninsula looking at the island thinking, if only I could live on that island.
I have memories of Catalina Island. I had a girlfriend in school, 8th grade and 9th grade, Julie Rich, whose family lived on Catalina, and she commuted back and forth to go to school at Edison High School.
Yeah.
Bizarre world that was. you know, for sure.
Crazy. But anyway, well, thanks for that lovely introduction.
Hey, I got one more. You guys, I'm a huge fan of Quentin Tarantino.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
yeah.
I love Quentin Tarantino. And
Me
his
too.
favorite movie of all time, Willie Ames happened to be in.
Let's see it.
One of the movies that got Quentin Tarantino to want to be in the movie.
When he was running the video store.
Exactly right.
Yeah, yeah.
And here we go. Go to my screen, please.
Here we go.
Now, this has the legendary Chachi in it. I'm going to call him Chachi because
boy.
that's what I like to call him. Joni loves Chachi. But this was a movie done in 1982 that really had a cult following.
More to Barney Springboro than his mind. There was more to Peyton Nichols than what met the eye.
Smile.
And on that day when Barney got the power, It was Peyton who knew exactly what to do with it.
I can make things fly around.
I have never seen
He
this.
guided Barney,
I got it all figured out. You do your thing. We'll make a fortune.
and he advised him in the fine art of dealing with parents. In the mysterious
Look who that
ways
is.
of women.
Look who that girl is. Remember her?
Wow.
And
Oh my
in the
God, she was a legend back then.
unpredictable laws of chance.
You're a winner.
Together, they used the power and took the world for a ride. And found their way into the hearts of every woman.
I don't want you to do anything you don't want to. You don't?
Look who you're
No.
with.
Dude.
I have way too much respect for you, John. You do?
But Peyton never warned Barney about one thing: falling in love. Get off this summer with Zapped.
I don't think I've ever
Starring
seen this
Scott Baio,
trailer.
Willie Ames, Albert Einstein, Scatman Crothers.
Oh,
his
Scat.
over-persuasive wife,
You ugly spasm.
an outrageous pair.
Robert
An
Mandan.
incredible pair. One spaced-out Vulcan, one spaced-out dummy. A team of professional exorcists. And a half-naked
my
cast
God.
of thousands. All come together in Zapped, a movie that's out of this world and out of its mind.
Wow, I've never
How do you not
never
see this
before seen that trailer.
shit? That girl, that blonde girl in there, she became very famous, though, didn't she?
Yeah, she was doing the $6 Million Man
Man, right.
at that time. No,
Right.
or no, it was not that. It was after Lee's other show.
Sure.
Where he's the bounty hunter.
But she was really pretty back then and
Oh,
really amazing.
she's and a sweet girl. Really, you
Right.
know. I mean, that movie doesn't get made today.
No, it doesn't
mean,
get made today because
at-
people
at
freak
all.
out about.
Oh my God.
I mean, our
Sexuality part
our
and
whole
stuff.
perspective has changed on that. But I can tell you that Eli Roth hit me up not too long ago, and he was like, oh, Quentin and I both have 2 copies of this, of your show. You got to come over and sit down and watch it with us. I was like, invite me. Quentin, Eli, invite me. I'll come over.
Did
and
you
we'll
see
sit down.
this one? I'm not going to put it on. Did you see this one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw that. That's the Studio 10 interview, which I thought was a really good interview. But it's really, it's funny when you look at all of the old trailers and all of the old shows and how much things have changed. And I think in a lot of ways, for the better, and in some, maybe not. But
Well, I'm a big fan
it's
of
nothing
your.
but good memories.
I'm a huge fan of yours. You know that. I know Ed Milet, by the way. Who brought up Ed Milet?
Buddy B.
Buddy B.
What's he saying?
Crickets on Ed Millett. He said he could see Todd knowing him.
What's crickets? I
don't
don't
know.
understand.
I don't know. Buddy.
Did something happen to Ed Milet?
I don't know.
That's freaking. Hey, Buddy B, what's up with Ed Milet? I don't. A fan of Ed Milet. Am I a fan of Ed Milet? I like him. I mean, did he do something wrong that I don't know
Ooh,
about?
that's a great question from Boilermaker Bumby.
What?
What's this?
Willie, how has Hollywood changed for the better and for the worse?
Oh, God.
That's
Oh, wow.
I
Oh,
mean,
boy.
do we have a whole show for
What'd I
that?
say?
That's a whole
Howard
podcast.
Stern.
Oh, my
Howard
God.
Stern.
That's
You know-
I've
you know where
turned
I'm
down
going.
Howard Stern
You
several
know where I'm
times.
going with that.
That's
and
a
and
great question.
I have. I've turned down Howard.
It's a great question.
I think that Hollywood tends to be, sit on a pendulum, and it sort of reacts one way, and then it goes back the other, and then it finds its way in the center. As far as Hollywood being, how is it better than it used to be? What was the exact question?
How has it changed for the better, and how has it changed for the worse?
Well, I think it's changed for the better in that we're having conversations that we'd never had before that I think we really needed to have. And so I think more people are getting the opportunity to come to the party, which is great. The bad part of that is that sometimes people that are less qualified are coming to the party as a result. It just becomes another sort of quota system. Mm-hmm. I know that there are a lot of companies that are just ticking off the boxes rather than going through a true mentoring process.
Right.
So I think we need to open it up to I think parity in the film industry is great. I think more diversity is great. I think I really believe in telling those stories and being able to tell those stories. But it gets a little bit crazy when you find people who cannot be actors any longer because you have to have somebody who is truly that representative of that community, whatever it might be.
Right.
And I was thinking of one of the films that that was coming out. I forget who was starring in it, but it was about a transgender person, and the transgender LGBTQ plus community fought very hard to have that movie shut down after it had already been produced. Now, as somebody who understands how hard it is to get a movie produced, it is incredibly difficult to have it happen. And I got into this debate with somebody at the union over it, and they said, well, they should have asked the LGBTQ transgender community for permission to tell the story before they actually made the movie. And I said, but it isn't always like, if you're a producer, you need this name to sell the movie, and because if you don't make enough money back, you don't get to make more movies
And tell more stories.
and they said, but how is that right? You don't have the right to tell those stories because you're not in that community. And I said, well, let's take a different example. Let's take Will and Grace. Now, not everybody on that show was gay.
Right.
But what they did show the community and the film companies was that gay is fun, gay is funny as a comedy. It does sell marketing and it does pay the bills. Therefore, let's make more of this.
Sure.
And so I think we have to be really careful when we start excluding other groups because another group's voice got louder. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't listen, but we do have to listen to one another. And they call it acting because you are able to become someone that you weren't before, or in your own personal life.
So were you considered?
I don't know if that answers your question.
I remember seeing you on the cover of Teen Beat and all these magazines where teenagers were in love with you back then. But were you considered, or was it true that I understand the Sexiest Man Alive thing at the time? Was that like a People's Magazine thing, or was that like a Teen Beat thing? Do you remember?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I mean, I found that whole thing really, really.
You didn't like it?
It's embarrassing. It was something that we had to do, and it was something that everybody
Heather
did.
Thomas.
Heather
yeah.
Thomas.
Heather Thomas.
So I just found it. I never really considered myself worthy of the covers of doing those things, and so I found it really super embarrassing to have to do. But it's something that you did, and you kind of look back. Actually, there's sometimes you look back and you go, I wish I had an idea that I really looked like that, because I didn't. I had no idea. Has social media helped or hurt Hollywood? Boilermaker says. I think like any innovation, whether it's in the music industry or any disruptive technology, I think it has its upsides and its downsides. I think that on the one hand, you can be a part of Hollywood. If you look at the Kardashians, they're famous for being famous, but they are brilliant marketers. They are absolutely brilliant entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So I think in that way, it's not really hurt Hollywood because it's actually bolstered it in a lot of ways, but I don't think it's helped the creative process that section or that sector of Hollywood. And then you have things that just absolutely don't belong, which are obvious, I think. And actually, we're taking advantage of that social media presence, because we have a show that we're doing for streaming services. We're not sure which one we're going to distribute with just yet. That is based on a social media star.
Netflix. Yeah.
Well, that's it. But see, when you say
I don't know,
Netflix, that's like saying, somebody hand me a Kleenex. What you really want to do is blow your nose. It doesn't matter whether Kleenex made it or not. Kleenex is just a brand name. So
Netflix is like a brand name.
it's a brand name. Yeah,
Could be Disney.
Could be Disney Plus. Could be Discovery Plus. Could
Paramount.
be Hulu. Could be Amazon. Could be AT&T. It could be the Peacock, which would be Universal. Could be Paramount. Paramount Plus.
Hey, so Willie Ames is a personal friend of mine of more than 32 years. We had little gaps in between our friendship.
Yep.
Where you were busy, I was busy. You were doing kind of crazy stuff, Bible man, stuff like that. But the most important thing to understand is Willie's a smart guy. One of the smartest guys I know. in media production, but most importantly, he keeps his word and he gets things done, and he does everything he can to complete the task that he agreed to do. So Willie is an important part of the team, and this is like, I don't even know how to react, because for the last 6-7 years that I've known you, I don't think that we've done a lot of, you did one podcast with me with Jennifer Runyon, who was like the basis of why I married my wife when I was a kid. Jennifer Runyon from Ghostbusters, big fan of, and yeah, I know you and Jennifer are friends and the family.
Long-time friends, yeah.
But Willie's part of the team, and he's been part of the team in the background for a long time, and I'm really thrilled that he is here. It's not how you spell his name, but I appreciate it, Ben.
Yeah, that's...
It's a tough one, though.
yeah,
Did you know who Willie was, Skyla, before you met Willie Ames?
No clue.
I'd heard the name before, but I didn't like know a face to the name or anything. But then like once we started working with him, then I was like, oh, let me look him up. And
Let me look him up.
Yeah.
There's a lot to look up.
yeah,
But
For courtesy purposes, since Willie was like the sexiest man alive, I assure you, Willie won't go into. He's newly
Only
he's-
to Crypto Joe.
He's
am I the
he's been
sexiest man alive.
he's married, and I know his wife personally. She's wonderfully beautiful and sweet, and Willie is super respectful. But Willie was, a teen heartthrob back then. So we won't go into that. Though.
Yeah, no. There's no need to go into that.
But in fairness, you were. Yeah, I saw it on the cover of T. You were considered one of the sexiest men alive back then. So we know
Yeah,
Come
no,
on.
I know what you're saying. It's
Got it.
still, it's just, it's still an
Let's cover-
oddball thing to me. But I do want to say this. Just,
Uh-oh.
I had the pleasure for many years after we finished Charles in Charge, is when I went into production and I was producing for Outdoor Network.
I was
and
on the set of Charles in Charge one time.
You were.
Yeah.
That's
Charles
we
in
met.
charge of
And you
our
came to
day,
visit the show.
of our life. Sorry.
And then I actually went from there to producing corporate communications and marketing for Sprint, Northwest Airlines, Hellsberg
Warren Buffett.
Diamonds.
Yeah.
When Warren bought Hellsberg Diamonds, when Berkshire Hathaway took it over, then by extension I started to work there. And so I did corporate communications, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Merck Farm. Well, Marion
you're a
Pharmaceuticals.
Kansas City Chiefs
Hey,
fan,
hey,
right?
hey.
I mean Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Hey.
Right,
Kansas
that's right?
City Chiefs.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't.
I
get
lived
that
in
right.
Kansas City for 18 years. Actually, when I
You know what's
left
good about
California,
Kansas City? White bread and barbecue.
barbecues,
Barbecue.
incredible
Sure.
there.
Yep.
I left Newport Beach, California, and moved to Kansas City, Kansas. Actually, on the Olathe, Kansas, and Overland Park, Kansas. And people would say, "Well, what's it like to move from the beach to Kansas?" I was like, "It's just the dirt version of the ocean, really." I mean, and I was not into
A dirt version of the ocean.
I was not into football because I grew up surfing and diving and fishing and everything on the ocean, and there's not much tuna fishing in Kansas. And so I got hooked into being a Chiefs fan, and then I became a rabid Chiefs fan because I was doing
Kansas City Chief fan.
Kansas shitty.
Dude, you can say it all you
I
want.
won't say it.
I-
Hey, they won the Super Bowl, right? One
I
year?
got an opportunity
I'm
to
kidding
produce
around.
Otis Taylor's legacy video.
Oh, really?
Who should be in the Hall of Fame but isn't. Otis Taylor, of course, great receiver, Kansas City receiver. And when I was doing that, it was when Montana was there. So I got to interview Joe Montana. We got to, one day
nice.
I was walking up to the Kansas City administration building, and this guy runs in front of me and he grabs the door and he says, "Oh, I always liked your shows." And I looked and it was Marcus Allen.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like,
Oh, nice.
dude, I like your show too.
Yeah.
And so I got to know all of those guys, and I would hang out with them, and I used to, go out into the woods with these guys and do the outdoorsman thing. And when I would go to the games and they would lose, my week was shattered. Absolutely shattered, and I'd be over at like Joe Phillips' house or Dave Zott's house going, "You don't understand. You don't understand." He's like, "Willie, calm down. It's a game." I was like, "No, you don't get it." And he goes, "I was in the game. I get it." And then I had to pull myself back from a little bit because I became so rabid. But now I'm happy to see Mr. Mahomes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna digress a little bit because we're gonna wrap it up. But one of the things we're gonna digress to is the market. Now, we talked about the last couple months, Jason. We talked about being negative at this time of year, believing the market would sell off. We covered our cues.
Yep. We had some UVXY.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be this massive sell-off where the world comes to an end, but I do believe that this is a little bit of a new normal for a while. the government's putting too much out. That the Democrats are opposing now the infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
Whole thing's not making sense. And if you believe, like I believe, that things do well when the government can't make up its mind, I can assure you, we are in Never Never Land now. Mm-hmm. Nothing's getting done. Nothing. There is nothing getting done, and I'm not. People who know me, I'm actually not a hardcore Republican. I'm not as right wing as you are.
Right.
I'm kind of in the middle, and I just see the Biden presidency as it's messed up.
Poll numbers are way down.
Forget the poll numbers. What's getting done is not getting done.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a messy situation. The Democrats are kind of eating their own in the sense that Elizabeth Warren's saying basically that the Fed chairman was a danger. What does that even mean?
Yeah, she called him dangerous.
Yeah, she's talking down she's talking down America.
Yeah,
she's talking down people who are rich, who contribute to society, and they don't even want to. But the fact that the rich still pay the most amount of taxes, and they want to call it the percentage they pay, and they want to use very cliche-ish things that get around and are not factual, but can be factual if you only look at one part of it.
They're going to bring back the Mitt Romney moment.
It's more of the same.
47%.
Willie, do you accept Venmo? I don't know what that is. It's kind of.
I know what that is. That's very funny.
It's kind of more of the same. It literally. I mean, Jason, I'm surprised you're not saying much. But is the government going to get anything done? Just answer that question. Are they going to get anything done?
No.
No. And so I think that could hurt the market, right? But there's a lot of great opportunities out there. Now, I lost my screen because the power went out, but I'd like Jason to bring up something. I want to make it clear to you. I had a thesis the market was going to sell off. I did. Anyone who's watched the show from the beginning, episode 141?
Yes.
I know you
From the beginning, I thought the market would sell off at this time. I said it from the beginning. That's not me claiming victory like somehow I'm still losing money.
You told me this. You told me this almost 5 months ago.
Right. So I'm not some brain surgeon who I'm doing surgery on myself, man. I'm losing money right now. I'm not making money. I'm losing less than I thought I would though, because I'm not massively invested in certain areas that I think are getting hit. Rod Wilson, the Biden presidency is a no-show. It is a massive no-show.
Afghanistan was not good. That was like a fatal error.
It is a massive debacle.
Demonization. Elizabeth Warren wants to demonize people. She wants to demonize success, and eventually Americans won't put up with it. They don't. Even Democrats who believe in more kind of liberal policies want people to be successful.
Mark Cuban won't put up with it. He's right here. He talks about it.
Right. So, but here's my point. Okay, what am I leading up to? Market sold off. We already know this. We're not reporting on it today. We're reporting on what's more amazing to me and better than the market, and that is that Willie has joined the team, and I'm.
Nobody can.
That's
no
all
no
money,
man
baby.
can live up to this.
Dude, you're a stellar guy. You're an honest guy. You do credible work. I'm very pleased, and you try to help so many people. People don't even know who you are. They don't understand. They'll go on the internet and they'll say, "Oh, Willie had a hard time here and there." Who gives a shit? We've all had hard times. Don't throw any fucking stones. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see your bullshit stones. You've had hard times. You don't get to say shit about Willie. He's a wonderful human being who's supported tons of people, supported my family, other people's family, helped people out all along the way. Everything else listen, did you have something happen bad to you? So did I. Did you have some tough times? Who gives a shit?
Well, the important thing is you learn from it and you move on. But
right.
You were making a really fine point about the government and where we're at with the economy today. So I just want to bring.
But here's my point. I'm going to get back to this, and that is, I spent some time over the weekend. I've been building a thesis for years. Everyone knows that DPW tried to get into Bitcoin 17, 18. We kind of failed at that. We had miners. We still have some of those original miners, S9s, that are still mining. Mm-hmm. But now we have S19s running.
Yes, we do.
And we bought 4,000 of them, 1,000 of them that are being installed now, some that have been delivered, some that are being installed now. We're ramping up. Those 1,000, I think, will do something close to $1 million a month in Bitcoin. And what is my reason for that? I've said this before publicly in a press release. I am seeing Bitcoin right now at 49,000. It's not going away, folks. The more the Chinese push it out, the more they push it out globally, people don't like the way the Chinese treat their citizens. People don't like the way the Chinese treat Taiwan.
Oh, they're flying by like crazy now.
Sure.
They're definitely
they're definitely showing.
they've increased the
I've been worried
rhetoric.
about South China Sea for about the last 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, literally the last 7
They've been
years.
emboldened.
I'm not. Listen, there's a lot that the Chinese are doing right. They've pulled their citizens up from poverty 30 years ago to success. They've done amazing things with it. But in terms of human rights and other things that we all know that there's difficulties there. But put all that aside, they've made Bitcoin, basically cryptocurrency, illegal
Yeah.
for their own benefit, right?
Well, the digital yuan.
They've eaten their own.
Yeah, for sure.
But don't you see that as a bit of a tipping point?
Powell said, we are not banning cryptocurrencies. I am 100% behind the idea that not only Bitcoin here to stay, but there's a few other currencies to stay. Some of them are going to go away, like the internet, where there were too many companies and they kind of blew up themselves up. But I'm really a believer in DeFi and getting to understand more and more what this means. And so I continue to push towards an all-in bet on Bitcoin. I'm really, really excited about Bitcoin. Can even today at 49,000. Do I think it could go to 30 or 25? Sure. But do I think it's going to be part of the future in a bigger and bigger way? How do you prescribe that? Anything with a neutron? Is it a neutron?
Electron.
Electron.
Anything with an electron.
Anything with electrons being digitized, right? It's going to. Well, I guess that theoretically is digitized, right?
But see,
Jason, how do I word it any stronger than saying I'm going all in? I'm not there yet, but I'm a huge believer, and I've been connected to some people in this space.
Yeah.
You know, preferably one professor who's basically explained that he went in looking at Satoshi, the white paper, as a skeptic, as a fraud, and came out the other side a believer in what this is going to do to disrupt the world. Mm-hmm. And those of you who are ignoring it, I know smart people like Bill Gates. I'd be short in Bitcoin. Warren Buffett. I'd be short in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
If there was a well, he said he wouldn't short. He just wouldn't buy it.
Right.
He's right. There's no utility in the sense that it's not like a farm that produces something. But the underlying technology of Bitcoin and the platform of that is taking the government out of the loop a little bit here.
Yes.
And I'm fascinated with what the next, what are the next 10 years of Bitcoin going to look like? And I don't think it's going away. I don't think the Chinese can do shit from Shinola to do anything about it. I don't think it's going away.
I think that the social climate today globally is preparing for a huge shift, because when you look at cryptocurrencies and the fact that they're decentralized and that it really puts...
Hold on a second. Are we blowing up or something?
Something's beeping.
Oh no, it's just a tally light on the camera there.
Oh, okay.
And when you look at how manipulated all societies have become with their governments, this is the way that the people can really take back their own future by taking control of a decentralized currency that the other governments don't control. They can't manipulate it, and they can't manipulate people with it. Mm-hmm. So it's really an interesting time historically in society, that society is actually ripe, whether, no matter what side of the issues you're on. The fact is that society is ready to do away with a lot of these mechanisms that control us. And the first one you're going to start with is going to be currency, because then you can pretty much forge your own freedom.
Yep.
So I would say to you guys, I want to be clear that I had a thesis the market was going to sell off. And I kind of wondered, Jason, if Bitcoin would be up during that sell-off. If that, because of liquidity purposes, people would use that to get liquid. And what I know people are doing is putting it on their balance sheet. And I'm beyond excited about that, right? Beyond excited about it.
Somebody asked how many S19Js do you have installed right now?
You can't comment on that.
Cannot comment on that.
Yeah, we've given guidances to that. I refer you to my Twitter, which is my Twitter. It has an 8K registered with the SEC, so that I can't put stuff on there. I'm not allowed to comment on it, but I will tell you they're being installed.
Correct.
And we outlined that for you in the press release. I'm not trying to be weird about it, but these are material developments. This is 1,000 miners. That's $1 million a month, basically, right? Depending on the level.
Yep.
And we're putting in 4,000, so that would be close to $4 million a month when it's fully installed. And that's assuming we only put in 4,000.
Correct.
And if any of you have any clue of who I am, would I only put in 4,000? Maybe. Maybe the board wouldn't approve more than that. Do you think 4,000 is enough, Jason?
It could be. It could maybe not. I don't know.
Jason, do you think 4,000 is enough?
For me personally,
8 is enough?
Oh.
Okay.
I see what you did there.
What's
I
wrong?
see what you did there.
What's wrong? Is it over? Already? Well, on a sad note, and it has made me teary, a dog that we've had in our life for 10 years, everyone's probably lost one, is going to be put down today, so that sucks. That really sucks.
That's just the worst.
But I'm not going to end that on a bad note. She was a great dog, really loving, sweet dog, my wife's favorite dog, besides Fonzie when she had as a kid. Let's not end on that note. Skyla, what's the joke today?
Okay, so sorry, I was a little sad. A guy gets in a taxi and then realizes, like, oh, I gave the taxi driver the wrong direction. So he goes to tap on his shoulder, and the taxi driver freaks out, screams, swerves, almost crashes. As soon as he gets to a stop, the guy goes, oh my God, I just tapped you on the shoulder. Like, you're really jumpy. And he goes, fuck, I've been driving a hearse for the past 20 years. This is my first day.
That's funny. I think that's funny, don't you?
Oh yeah, I get it.
I got one for you.
Unstoppable!
I got one for you. Maybe cheer you up.
Yeah.
So there's this guy. He walks into the doctor's office, and the doctor says, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "Doc, I don't know. I can't tell whether I'm coming or going." And the doctor says, All right, well, let's figure this out. Take your clothes off. Okay, get on your hands and knees. Crawl toward the door. Yeah, crawl back towards me. Hey, you're right. You can't tell whether you're coming or going.
Got him!
Hit Brett. Hit the music.
Yeah,
That's your cue.
Yeah, that's true.
Save me.
Hey! It is October 3rd, or is it 4th? October 4th, 141st episode of Risk On. I'm Todd Ault. Willie Ames is in the house. Jason Bartholomew, my friend. Skyla, Nick, and Brett. It is a good day and a bad day. Sorry, Roxy. Hate to see your life end.
Poor
We love you.
Roxy.
The market is not good today, but it'll be good another day.
Yeah.
Get long Bitcoin. That's just my opinion.